Jupiter, not only being the first gas giant in our solar system, but actually the fifth planet in our solar system farther from the sun. Jupiter is actually one of the biggest and largest planets in the galaxy. But don't take my word for it.
Delicious baked goods. They're all quite different, but they're made from the same basic ingredient.
Bill Nye, you're such a legend. But anyways, Jupiter is a world of extremes. It's the largest planet in our solar system. If it were a hollow shell, 100,000 Earths can fit inside. It's also the oldest planet, forming the dust and gases left over from the sun's formation 4.5 billion years ago. But it has the shortest day in the solar system, taking only 10.5 hours to spin around once on its axis. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Jupiter's signature stripes and swirls are exactly cold. Jupiter's signature stripes and swirls are actually cold. Windy clouds of ammonia and water floating in an atmosphere of hydrogen and helium. The dark orange stripes are called belts, while the lighter bands are called zones. And they flow east and west in the opposite directions. Jupiter's iconic red spot is a giant storm bigger than Earth that has raged for hundreds of years. The king of planets named for Jupiter, king of the gods in Roman mythology, most of its moons are named after mythical characters. Figures associated with Jupiter or his Greek counterpart Zeus. With a radius of 43,440.7 miles, 69.911 kilometers, Jupiter is 11 times wider than Earth. If Earth were the size of a grape, Jupiter will be about as big as a basketball. From an average distance of 484 miles, 778 million kilometers, Jupiter is 5.2 astronomical units away from the sun. One astronomical unit, abbreviated as AU, is the distance from the sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 43 minutes to travel from the sun to Jupiter. Discovered in 1979, NASA's Voyager 1 spacecraft, Jupiter's rings were a surprise. The rings are composed of small dark particles. They are difficult to see except when backlit by the sun. Data from the Galileo spacecraft indicates that Jupiter's ring system may be formed by dust kicked up as interplanetary meteoroids smash into the planet's small innermost moons. As a gas giant, Jupiter doesn't have a surface. The planet is mostly swirling gases and liquids. While a spacecraft would have nowhere to land on Jupiter, it wouldn't be able to fly through the unscathed either. The extreme pressure and temperatures deep inside the planet crush, melt, and vaporize the spacecraft after trying to fly into the planet. Jupiter's appearance is a tapestry of colorful stripes and spots. The clouds bands that encircle the planet and the cyclonic storms dotting it from pole to pole. The gas giant likely has 3 distinct cloud layers in its skies that, taken together, 44 miles, 71 kilometers. The top cloud is probably made out of ammonia ice, while the middle layer is likely made of ammonium hydroxide crystals. The innermost layer may be made out of water and ice and vapor. The vivid colors you see in thick bands across Jupiter may be plumes of sulfur phosphorus containing gases rising from the planet's warmer interior. Jupiter's fast rotation, spinning once every 10 hours, creates strong jet streams separating its clouds into dark belts and bright zones across stretches. With no solid surface to slow them down, Jupiter's spots can persist for many years. Stormy Jupiter is swept by over a dozen prevailing winds, some reaching up to 335 miles per hour, 539 kilometers per hour at the equator. The Great Red Spot is a swirling oval of clouds twice as wide as Earth, has been observed on the giant planet for more than 300 years. More recently, 3 smaller ovals merged to form the Little Red Spot, and half the size of its larger cousin. Like Jupiter, Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun, but it's known for its beautiful rings. Unlike many professional sports players that flex most of their rings, Saturn does most of the flexing for you. Cause look at all those rings. Anyways, Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun and the 2nd largest planet in our solar system. Adorned with a dazzling system of icy rings, Saturn is unique among the planets. It's not the only planet to have rings, but none are spectacular or as complex as Saturn's, like fellow gas giant Jupiter. Saturn is a massive ball made mostly of hydrogen and helium. The farthest planet from Earth, discovered by unaided human eye, Saturn has been known since ancient times. The planet is named for the Roman god of agriculture and wealth, who was the father of Jupiter. Perhaps the most iconic of all planets in our solar system, Saturn is heavily present in pop culture. It provides a backdrop of numerous science fiction stories, movies and TV shows, comics, and video games, including Cthulhu Mythos, WALL-E, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Star Trek. In Tim Burton's film Beetlejuice, a dusty fictional Saturn is populated by giant sandstorms In the 2014 movie Interstellar, the wormhole enables the astronauts to travel to another galaxy, appears near Saturn. Saturn is the namesake of Saturday, arguably the best day of the week. Like fellow gas giant Jupiter, Saturn is a massive ball made mostly of hydrogen and helium. Saturn is the only planet to have rings, but none are spectacular or as complex as Saturn. Saturn also has dozens of moons. From the jets of water that sprays from Saturn's moon Enceladus to the methane lakes on smoggy Titan. The Saturn system is a rich source of scientific discovery that holds many mysteries. The farthest planet from Earth discovered by the unaided eye, Saturn has been known since ancient times. The planet is named after the Roman god of agriculture and wealth, who was also the father of Jupiter. Saturn is home to a vast array of intriguing and unique worlds, from the haze-shrouded surface of Titan to crater-riddled Phoebe. Each of Saturn's moons tells another piece of the story surrounding the Saturn system. As of June 8th of last year, 2023, Saturn has 146 moons in its orbit, with others continually awaiting confirmation of their discovery and official naming by the International Astronomical Union, IAU. Saturn's rings, thought to be pieces of comets, asteroids, or shattered moons that broke up before they reached the planet, torn apart by Saturn's powerful gravity. They're made of billions of small chunks of ice and rock, coated with other materials such as dust. The rings' particular range from tiny dust-sized icy grains to chunks as a big house. A few particles are as large as mountains. The rings would look mostly white if you look at them from the cloud tops of Saturn. And interestingly, each ring orbits at a different speed than around the planet. As a gas giant, Saturn doesn't have a true surface. The planet is mostly a swirling gases and liquids deeper down, while a spacecraft would have nowhere to land on Saturn. Wouldn't be able to fly through unscathed either. The extreme pressures and temperatures deep inside the planet would crush, melt, and vaporize spacecraft trying to fly into the planet. Saturn is blanketed with clouds that appear as faint stripes, jet streams, and storms. The planet is many different shades of yellow, brown, and gray. Winds in the upper atmosphere reach 1,600 feet per second, 500 meters per second in the equatorial region. In contrast, the strongest hurricane force winds on Earth on top out at 360 feet per second, 110 meters per second, and the pressure, the same kind you feel when you dive deep underwater, is so powerful it squeezes gas into a liquid. Saturn's North Pole has an interesting atmospheric feature, a six-sided jet stream. This hexagon-shaped pattern was first noticed in images from the Voyager spacecraft, has been more closely observed by the Cassini spacecraft spanning about 20,000 miles, 30,000 kilometers across the hexagon is a wavy jet stream of 200 mile per hour winds, about 322 kilometers per hour, with a massive rotating storm at the center. There is no weather feature like it, and there's no weather feature like it anywhere else in the solar system. Now the next planet is our solar system. It's practically the butt of the joke in our solar system, in which that next planet being
Uranus.
However you want to pronounce the planet, Uranus or Uranus. Uranus is the seventh planet from the sun. Uranus is the seventh planet from the sun, and it has the third largest diameter of planets in our solar system. Uranus appears to spin sideways. Uranus is very cold and windy. Uranus is a very cold and windy world. The ice giant surrounded by 13 faint rings and 28 small moons. Uranus rotates at a nearly 90 degree angle from the plane of its orbit. This unique tilt makes Uranus appear to spin sideways, orbiting the sun like a rolling ball. Uranus was the first planet found with the aid of a telescope. It was discovered in 1781 by astronomer William Herschel. Although he originally thought it was either a comet or a star, it was 2 years later that the object was universally accepted as a planet, in part because of observations by astronomer Elbert Bode. William Herschel tried unsuccessfully to name his discovery Sidus after King George III. Instead, the planet was named for Uranus, the Greek god of the sky, as suggested by Johann Bode. Uranus has known 28 moons. While most of the satellites orbiting other planets take their names from Greek or Roman mythology, Uranus moons are unique in being named for characters from the works of William Shakespeare and Alexander Pope. All of Uranus' inner moons appear to be roughly half water, ice, and half rock. The composition of outer moons remain unknown, but they're likely captured asteroids. Rings. Uranus has 2 sets of rings. The inner system of 9 rings consists of mostly of narrow, dark gray rings There are two outer rings. The innermost one is reddish like dusty rings elsewhere in the solar system, and the outer ring is like blue like Saturn's E ring. In order of increasing distance from the sun, from the planet, the rings are called Zeta, 6, 5, and 4. Alpha, Beta, Eta, Gamma, Delta, Lambda, Epsilon, Nu, and Mu. Some of the larger rings are surrounded by belts of fine dust. As an ice giant, Uranus doesn't have a true surface. The planet mostly swirling fluids, while a spacecraft would have nowhere to land on Uranus. It wouldn't be able to fly through its atmosphere. Unscathed, the extreme pressures and temperatures would destroy a metal spacecraft. Uranus's atmosphere is mostly hydrogen and helium, with a small amount of methane and traces of water and ammonia. The methane gives Uranus its signature light blue color, while Voyager 2 saw only a few discrete clouds, a great dark spot, and a small dark spot during its flyby in 1986. More recent observations reveal that Uranus exhibits dynamic clouds as it approaches equinox, including changing bright features. Uranus' planetary atmosphere, with a minimum temperature of 49K, 224.2 degrees Celsius, makes it even colder than Neptune in some places. Wind speeds can reach up to 560 miles per hour, 900 kilometers per hour on Uranus. Winds are retrograde at the equator, blowing in the reverse direction of the planet's rotation, but closer to the poles. Wind shifts to a prograde direction, flowing with Uranus rotation. And this is why Uranus is called one of the icy gas giants and how it got the name. On to the supposedly last planet from the sun. The last planet from the sun, also named after a god. A planet that is so terrifying that it has many storms. This planet is called Neptune. Dark, cold, and whipped by supersonic winds, giant Neptune is the 8th and most distant major planet orbiting our sun, more than 30 times as far as the sun as Earth. Neptune is not visible to the naked eye. Neptune completed its first 165-year orbit since its discovery. The planet's rich blue color comes from methane in its atmosphere, which absorbs red wavelengths of light, but allow blue ones to be reflected back into space. Neptune was the first planet located through mathematical calculations using predictions sent to him by French astronomer Urbain Le Verrier. Based on disturbances in the orbit of Uranus, German astronomer Johann Galle was the first to observe the planet in 1846. The planet is named after Roman god of sea, as suggested by Leverrier. Even though Neptune is the farthest planet from our sun, it's a frequent stop in pop culture and fiction. The planet served backdrop for the 1997 science fiction horror film Event Horizon, while in the cartoon series Futurama, the robot Santa Claus has his home base on Neptune's North Pole. Doctor Who fans will remember that an episode entitled Sleep No More is set on a space station orbiting Neptune, and in the Star Trek Enterprise pilot episode Broken Bow, viewers learn that at warp 4.5 speed, it's possible to fly to Neptune back to Earth in 6 minutes. Wow. Neptune is so far from the sun that high noon on the big blue planet would seem like dim twilight to us. The warm light we see here on our home planet is roughly 900 times as bright as sunlight on Neptune. The ice giant Neptune was first planet located through mathematical calculations using made urbanly Verrier. Johann Galilei discovered the planet in 1846. The planet is named after the Roman god of the sea, as suggested by Verrier. Potential for life? Neptune's environment is not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures, pressures, and materials that characterize the planet are most likely too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. Neptune has 16 known moons. Neptune's largest moon was discovered on October 10th, 1846. William Lassell, just 17 days after Johann Gottfried Galilei discovered the planet, since Neptune was named for the Roman god of the sea. Its moons are named for various lesser sea gods and nymphs in the Greek sky mythology. Triton is the only large moon in the solar system that circles its planets in a direction opposite to the planet's rotation, a retrograde orbit, which suggests that may once have been an independent object that Neptune captured. It is extremely cold, with its surface temperature around minus 391 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 235 degrees Celsius. And yet, despite this deep freeze, Triton Voyager 2 discovered the geyser spewing icy materials upward more than 5 miles, 8 kilometers. Triton's thin atmosphere, also discovered by Voyager, has been detected from Earth several times since and is growing warmer, but scientists do not know why. Neptune has at least 5 main rings and 4 prominent rings, arcs, that we know of so far. Starting near the planet and moving outward, the main rings are Galilei, Leverrier, Lasso, and Arago and Adams. The rings are thought to be relatively young and short-lived. Neptune doesn't have a solid surface. Its atmosphere, made up of mostly hydrogen, helium, and methane, extends to great depths, gradually merging into water. and other melted ices over a heavier solid core with about the same mass as Earth. Neptune's atmosphere is made up of mostly hydrogen and helium with just a little bit of methane. Neptune's neighbor Uranus has a similar makeup. The methane absorbs other colors but reflect blue, giving these ice giants their similar hue. Many images of Neptune coming from Voyager flyby in 1989 show Neptune as a much deeper blue. This was because the Voyager team tweaked the images to no better reveal the clouds and other distinctive features on the planet compared to the hazy uniform view Uranus that Voyager 2 had captured in 1986. Researchers in 2024 showing the planets look much more alike. Neptune is our solar system's windiest world. Despite its great distance and low energy input from the sun, Neptune's winds can be 3 times stronger than Jupiter's and 9 times stronger than Earth's. These winds whip clouds of frozen methane across the planet at speeds more than 1,200 miles per hour, 200,000 kilometers per hour. Even Earth's most powerful winds hit only about 250 miles per hour. 400 kilometers per hour. In 1989, a large oval-shaped storm in Neptune's southern hemisphere, dubbed the Great Dark Spot, was large enough to contain the entire Earth. That storm has since disappeared, but new ones appeared on parts of the planet. With the last 4 planets being the gas giants, there is one more planet in the solar system. And that planet is all alone in space since 2006. The 9th planet from the sun is Pluto. Why Pluto is no longer a planet? Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006 by the International Astronomical Union because other objects might cross its orbit. Pluto was a complex and mysterious world with mountains, valleys, plains, craters, and glaciers. It's located in the distant Kuiper Belt, discovered in 1930. Pluto was longer considered our solar system's 9th planet, but after discovery of similar worlds deeper in the Kuiper Belt as a dwarf planet in 2006 by the International Astronomical Union. According to 2006 IAU, a dwarf planet is an object in an orbit around the sun that's large enough to pull itself nearly around shape, but has not been able to clear its orbit of debris. The IAU stated that Pluto falls into the dwarf planet category because it's located in part of the solar system known as the trans-Neptunian region beyond Neptune, where other objects cross Pluto's path. Pluto was named after an 11-year-old girl. In 1930, Venetia Burney of Oxford, England, suggested to her grandfather that the new discovery be named for the Roman god of the underworld. He forwarded the name of observatory and it was selected. An interview with NASA in January 2006, Venetia said she offered the name Pluto over breakfast with her mother and grandfather. It was March 14th, 1930, and her grandfather, Falconer Madden, had announced the scientists discovered the ninth planet. Venetia's interest and success in naming Pluto as a schoolgirl caught the attention of the world and earned her a place in the history of planetary astronomy that lives on, said Alan Stern, principal investigator, NASA's New Horizons missions that flew by Pluto on July 14th, 2015. Pluto surfaces around mountains, valleys, plains, and craters. The temperature on Pluto can be as cold as minus 375 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Minus 226 to minus 200 degrees Celsius. Pluto's tallest mountains are 6,500 to 9,800 feet, 2 to 3 kilometers in height. The mountains are big blocks of water, ice, sometimes with a coating of frozen gases like methane. Long trows and valleys as long as 370 miles, 600 kilometers add to the interesting features of this faraway dwarf planet. Craters as large as 162 miles, 260 kilometers in diameter of dot of a landscape on Pluto, with some showing signs of erosion and filling. This suggests that tectonic forces are slowly resurfacing Pluto. The most prominent plains observed Pluto appear to be made of frozen nitrogen gas and show no craters. These plains do show structures of suggesting convection, blobs of material circulating up and down. Pluto has a thin, tenuous atmosphere that expands when it comes closer to the sun and collapsing as it moves farther away, similar to a comet. The main constituent is molecular nitrogen, though molecules of methane and carbon monoxide have also been detected. When Pluto was close to the sun, its surface ices sublimate, changing directly from solid to gas, and rise to temporarily form a thin atmosphere. Pluto's low gravity, about 6% of Earth's, causes the atmosphere to be more extended in altitude than our planet's atmosphere. Pluto becomes much colder during the part of each year when it's traveling far away from the sun. During this time, the bulk of planet's atmosphere may freeze and fall as the snow to the surface. And that's all the 9 planets in our solar system. And the reason I add Pluto will be considered the ninth planet to some out there. But Pluto, you'll be remembered as one of the ninth planet before 2006.